Hi there, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Kuba. I'm joined by meteorologist Joe Farrell. Give him a wave, Joe.
Hey, everybody.
We are tracking severe weather across especially eastern Iowa as we continue on through the afternoon and evening. So the way things are looking right now, we do have our first couple of storms right now of the evening, or afternoon, I should say, especially over Hardin County, and then we get into Hamilton County a little bit as well as new cells initially develop. This is a strong thunderstorm southwest of Iowa Falls, nearing the Hubbard region. There is some signal that there's possibly some hail in this as well, though sub-severe at the moment. We'll continue to track that as we continue on. So we're just getting going. And this storm right now, I'll go ahead and go to the hail as it sits right now. And there's a decent little pocket being noted by our algorithm in the computer. And it's denoting hail size up to 1.3 inches in diameter. Joe, you want to take it away and track this system just a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, there's that warning.
Yep, we do now have a severe thunderstorm warning, as this storm is going to continue moving through Hardin County and continues to track off to the northeast. Where you see this pink right here, this is where we've got the hail. That's where this is really showing up with this storm. Now, the National Weather Service has put this a warning out. This is going to be for 1.25 inches in diameter hail, which I believe is $half sized. And this is going to continue tracking to the northeast. So let's go ahead and let you know what cities are going to be next in line for this one, especially with where that hail is going to be coming down. Just a little bit to the south and east of Sherman. This is going to be a crossing over, and very soon here, crossing through Highway 65. Let me get the track up here.
How fast are we going, Joe?
We are going
northeast at 20.
Yes.
I just
Not a fast mover.
No, I just want to make sure I get my storm motions set appropriately here for the day.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm gonna
hail right now is the biggest threat with this one, as it pushes between Sherman and Hubbard. So we'll continue to watch that.
Yeah, no, at least Chris, for the time being here, there's no reason for us to believe that this is going to, slow down or completely fizzle out. At least for the next foreseeable future here. Just a couple of locations that could be kind of next in line to see that hail, especially as it continues moving through this path. 316 Roughwoods Hill and Eldora also by 332. So got some time here, especially with this storm moving at only around 20-25 miles per hour. Pretty slow moving storm, but this is the first one that we noticed started to develop about, what would you say, Chris, about half hour ago or so?
It's been about that. And right now, hail is the biggest signature as we transition back over to my radar picture. And just to sample this, we're now pushing the estimations up closer to 2 inches now. So this is getting up to golf ball sized hail, in fact, even larger now. And I was just looking off on a parameter I have here off to the side. And we're actually going to prep for a short cut in on air for this one for what looks to be getting up to that's getting up to tennis ball sized hail, I think, is what the algorithm just off screen is saying. What's 2.25, Joe?
2.25.
I'm blanking for some reason.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Because
Okay, so 2 inches is hen egg, tennis ball is 2.5. I couldn't remember if it was 2.25 or 2.5. All right, in the back, we are going to do a brief on air cut in. Give me 30 seconds while I get my tracking tool all set up, and I'm ready to go. All right, standby stream. Yep. Good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Kubal. We're tracking severe weather as we go through the afternoon. Here's what we're looking at up towards Hardin County, south of Iowa Falls, between Hubbard and Sherman. There is a robust storm already cooking at this point. Severe thunderstorm warning in place until 3:30 for this storm. Now, the warning is for hail up to 1.25 inches in diameter, but I'm looking at estimations here as I'm looking at radar, potentially up to tennis ball-sized hail. So there is concern with this storm. It's moving to the north and east at about 25 to 30 miles per hour at the moment. So here's a look at the estimated time of arrival for certain communities. And it's basically just north of Hubbard right now. Woods Hill by 3:10. Eldora would be in your area by 3:21, and outside the warning box in Wellsburg by 3:41 and 3:55 in Aplington, as this one does move closer to Grundy County. This is a very potent storm. We're expecting isolated to scattered thunderstorms to develop as we go on through the afternoon. As we continue through the afternoon, and while the storms won't be widespread in its form of coverage, it will be impactful in terms of the threats. So latest estimations here from the hail algorithm, the hail size, as we're seeing as getting it close to 2.5 inches in diameter. And this is radar indications that are pointing in that hail core surging way up high in the sky. So possible tennis ball sized hail with this storm as it moves through southwest to central Hardin County. Of course, some of the threats we're going to be tracking here as we go through the day are going to be not only extremely large hail, but for tornadoes as well. At this point, there is some storm scale rotation, but I'm not seeing hints of anything to lead us to believe a tornado is spinning up, but no doubt that is something we will continue to track. I'm here in the Storm Center with meteorologist Joe Farrell. We have meteorologist Logan Schlottman out in the storm tracker if needed. We'll send it back to programming for now, but we'll cut in if necessary if severe weather continues to arise. All right, my friends, this is, again, another very robust cell as of right now. So initially here, we're thinking the wind structure is oriented to keep these storms moving straight. Not the best tornado risk initially this afternoon, but we should build into it, I think, Joe, as we continue on through the afternoon. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, it's not surprising, especially with this storm being kind of the first one that we've had for the day, that this one is, really just has strengthened over the last half hour or so. In fact, Chris, this is, probably a little, not so much near the surface or near the cloud base, but, there is at least a little bit more of a hook to kind of trying to develop with this storm. But currently, as Chris has mentioned too, the hail size and the hail coming down with this one is certainly the primary threat in its current form.
Yeah, and we just got an update on the warning now. The threats heightened to golf ball size, but again, you saw our algorithm here in-house showing something up to tennis ball sized hail. So that is going to be a concern with this cell right now. It really has a robust signal as it comes down to that hail signature. And yeah, Joe, you were talking about it, that that hook is starting to come around. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's starting to show up a little bit. Now, the rotation is not incredibly tight here, at least in the latest scan of velocity. You notice the green and red coming through right here, right around Hubbard. This is going to continue moving to the east and a little bit northeast. So this is an area that we're watching very closely now, especially just given the fact that as I go back to the regular radar here, you'll really notice the this little action right here. This is a little bit of that that hooking action that we're watching, and this is a signature that is the last really 3 radar scans. It's kind of shown itself a little bit more with each scan as it's come in.
Certainly is downdrafty, John. I'm going to take over here for a second. As we're looking at the shear detection, there is a little bit that is noted, but there's also been a bit that's been noted as the storm has been forming for the last 20 minutes or so. Right now, just a huge hail signature is what I'm seeing out of this. And as we kind of overlay it on the radar picture, and it is going to pop out kind of where that hail core is. So that white overlay that I have here, this would be the area that we are seeing that signal for some stronger hail. So I do want to go to the CC just to get a look at it. Yeah, and it is scattering pretty good, kind of originating from that point overlaid. So right about Highway 65 where it turns to go east, concurrent with Highway 175. I'd say that's where that most robust hail core is currently sitting right now, and then as it goes a little bit further to the east of that point, of that hook in the road. So there's some very large hail associated with this, and of course the threat is going to also continue to be to watch out for tornadoes. So kind of in the setup that we have here initially, I believe we're going to be looking at cells trying to split apart, initially at least. And so we'll see 2 supercells diverge. And usually when that happens, oriented from the way they're moving, the storm moving to the right, we especially watch to be more tornadic in nature. And then the one moving to the left, we'd watch for some larger hail possibilities with that. So let's go to the velocity picture and see what is being hinted. There is some shearing being noted, but the updraft, especially as we move over to the storm relative velocity, is not overly strong. Green means winds that are running towards the radar site, which is out of Des Moines, so they're oriented that way. And then the reds are moving to the north and to the east. And notice it's not quite as bright. We're looking at bright and tight options there. When it comes down to it, we want to see those bright colors, the reds and the greens, kind of concurrent with each other and sharp and bright. Joe?
Yeah, I think as time moves along here and we get a little bit more into the evening, I do believe that's when we're going to start to see more of the tornado threat become more of a concern. Not that, this storm hasn't shown signs of, a little bit of rotation here and there, but it's just right now, given the environment that we have, that the hail is going to continue to be kind of the primary risk with this particular storm. Let's get another track on this and let you know kind of who is next in line to maybe see some of this. Again, Roughwoods Hill showing up here, 312, so we've got about 8 minutes here. And again, this is potentially pretty large hail. We're talking ping pong ball sized hail and maybe even a couple of isolated larger hailstones. Eldora, by the time we get to 328, this storm is still only moving at around 20 miles per hour. So a very slow mover. So with the hail that's coming down, gosh, I can only imagine, Chris, being in a location like, just north or a little bit northeast of Hubbard, getting just absolutely pounded by this hail for a pretty long period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention, there's also some stronger wind that is likely occurring underneath in this same area as well. I'm over here keeping track of some of our storm chasers that we have in the field, and of course we will bring those up if need be. We also have our own local 5 meteorologist, Logan Schlottman, out into the storm tracker, and we'll pull him in as needed as well. I'm not seeing any significant drops being noted here, but we will definitely continue to watch our chasers. The vantage point, it it does look like on one that there may be something trying to drop a little bit down. Are you keeping your eyes on National Weather Service chat there, Joe?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Okay, so we do have some shearing there, as mentioned in the velocity signal. Very downdrafty storm right now. That green is the downdraft portion that we'd be concerned with. The red would be the wind feeding into this one. So hail continues to really rule the roost with this storm, and still hitting some rather big time numbers, up to tennis ball sized hail, just shy 2.5 inches is tennis ball, kind of in between that size of an egg and up to tennis ball sized hail. At least that's our estimations coming in on our radar software. So again, Joe, how fast is this moving? You said 20 miles per hour?
Yeah, 20 miles per hour.
Okay, so he did the most recent track on it. And so heads up in Eldora. This is going to be skirting your way here soon. I do also want to mention, if you do have a report to pass along with us, of course we want you to do it safely. Your safety is of course paramount. We want you to be safe, but maybe after the fact you have some hail, you want to share a picture with us, just text us right there on your screen. That's 515-457-1026, and we can definitely keep an eye out for some of those reports. Those reports really help us out when we're in the field. Joe, what do you think of the latest velocity scan here on this one?
Yeah, it's still nothing that I mean. The rotation is present. But it's still not something that we're seeing it in the inbound winds here in the brighter green, but we're not seeing it as strong with the outbound winds. So this is something that we will continue to really watch for and watch closely. But it's any time that it's showing at least a little bit of a signature of rotation, it of course piques our interest. But still, Chris, I would say that this definitely still is a hail producing storm for just as far as the primary threat with this one. And of course some gusty winds and strong wind gusts, 50 to 60 miles per hour can't be ruled out with this one either.
It is hooking around a little bit. There is the storm level rotation, and I would even say in the booth, Cody, if you're with me, let me know. Would you please have the Willard Sharp feed up just in case we want to take it? Looks like there may be a wall cloud associated with this storm dropping down, so I think we're moving closer than not to maybe jumping back on air and continuing our long form coverage here. So something to watch with this storm as it is moving through. Not only the hail, but we're watching for the tornadic risk. So as of this point, there's nothing imminent for Des Moines, the Des Moines Metro. In fact, I would say the greatest threats here we're looking at today are going to be kind of north and east of that purple line. In fact, that is where we have a tornado watch. It does extend to another county. We can look at that as kind of a buffer zone. But the way I'm looking at this setup today, I think our greatest risk is going to be along and north of I-80 and along and east of I-35. All right, Joe, what's the latest on that storm you got there?
Yeah, especially given where the first initial development here is, kind of a big sign of, the trend of the exact locations that this is still going to be going on. So latest radar scan just came in here. Still a little bit of rotation, a little bit just south of Roughwoods Hill and just south of Iowa Highway 175. Now, this is going to continue to move east and northeast. So Eldora, a little bit south of Steamboat Rock, a lot of farmland kind of in between some of these, some of our smaller towns here. So definitely, if you know someone on one of those farms in between these towns, just shoot them a text, give them a heads up that this storm is coming their direction and is producing not just hail, but we also have to continue to watch that rotation as well. I'm going to go ahead and put a track on this for hail specifically here. So again, this may pass just a little bit to the south if you're in Steamboat Rock, but kind of moving over Roughwoods Hill as we speak, and it's going to be really close for if you're in Eldora. Going to be a really close call as far as the hail, but certainly where the rotation is just a little bit farther south, rotation, probably better chance of seeing that move over Eldora with the largest hail moving over and the core of that hail moving just to the north of it. So in between Eldora, Steamboat Rock, that's kind of how we're tracking as far as the hail with this storm. But again, we're watching very closely the rotation within the cell as well. Not only because we may have a tornado warning issued, but it's just rotating, and so showing that it's still a strengthening storm, and still something that we still have to kind of show a little bit of that concern with.
A lot of energy to use at our disposal, and you kind of see the areas that have the best energy. That's going to be east of I-35. And there is a frontal boundary kind of tied up in place here too, and that's stretched across northeastern Iowa. So that boundary kind of running about right here. So you coincide those two areas with this boundary and the best energy. That's why we're saying this quadrant of the state is going to be the most watched here as we go on the next few hours. I think with this initial wave, now this tornado watch goes until 10 o'clock. I think with this initial wave, we're likely looking maybe towards 8 o'clock. For what I would call the large hail and tornadic threat. Then there's going to be a kind of a secondary wave that kicks up from the south as we go later into the night. This storm is still trying to hook around. I think our next radar scan is going to show that rather nicely. Joe just did a track on that, so I'll check out the hail here. It does look like maybe that hail size has gone down a little bit, and likely when that happens, it's usually a signal that that hail has been dropping, and we're no longer seeing it pushed high up in the sky. Now, it's still likely severe. There may be some 60-mile-per-hour winds tucked away underneath this hail core too, so heads up for that. I am still seeing some indication that there is a bit of a lowering associated with this storm. But
do we have a chaser on that?
we do, and in the booth, let's keep track of Brett Lyons on Severe Studios too. He's basically right under the mezzo, and it is rotating around, it appears here, pretty good in that area. And also in the booth, just let me know if you see something that's piquing your interest that we want to take also with this. So a lot of chasers out there today watching these cells, and we're going to be watching it along with you. Okay, so still some hail, but also what we're looking at is some of that rotation that's tucked away in there too. Hail is approaching Eldora right now. It's not overly strong with the rotation at this point, but it is definitely there. It has been stronger.
Yeah, it's still just, I don't know, how do we put this? Trying. It's still trying.
And I'm tracking. We have a distinct lowering on this storm as well. Out there right now. Joe, you want to take over and talk about this storm for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So just as a reminder here, severe thunderstorm warning does remain. This is going to remain in place. No discussion as to, well, actually, National Weather Service just got the report of the lowering wall cloud, which we have been looking at with you. So multiple eyes are on this, and still, latest radar scan still showing a little bit of that hooking action. So hail still going to be something that is along with this storm, and now, of course, we are watching closely some of that lowering of that wall cloud. This severe thunderstorm warning, they did just extend and put this a little bit farther to the northeast. And so that warning does include parts of, you can see there Butler, Grundy, Hardin counties. Yeah, this storm is just going to continue moving off to the northeast. Let's take it back to velocity. Get a look at the latest. Okay, that's certainly a little bit brighter and a little bit stronger than what we have seen over the past couple of scans. Really want to get a track on this for you.
And just so you know, we do have eyes on this right now. There's no funnel. There is a wall cloud, but there is no funnel. That's why I don't believe we are seeing a tornado warning at the moment associated with this. We're just kind of monitoring the situation via our eyes in the field, our storm spotters and storm chasers, but they are definitely on it. There's a lot of people on it, Joe.
Yeah, and so let's go ahead and let's get a track on this here and let you know kind of who is going to be next in line to where this storm is still continuing to show its strength. And I do believe I want to double check for you real quick. The storm motion, still think it's moving at a pretty slow pace here.
It certainly is.
Yeah, still northeast at 25 miles per hour, and that's it. So here's a couple locations you can see there that will be next in line for the kind of the strongest portion of this cell. Eldora, very, very soon here. So if you're in Eldora, good idea to right now be in an interior room of your home or your basement, just for the hail risk, not only still showing signs of rotation here, but again, no tornado warning, no tornado, no funnel, nothing like that going on at this point in time. But Steamboat Rock, same story. Might as well start to kind of just be prepared for that hail coming down. Head to an interior room of your home away from those outdoor windows and doors, because hail to the size that this storm has been showcasing at different points, it's big enough hail, especially with the winds really getting going towards the surface. That's a big enough hail to really cause some of that concern for, it can come through a window at the, speeds that it might be kind of coming down with this storm. So something to keep in mind here. Latest radar scan coming in, not as pronounced of hooking action, but still something that is worth keeping an eye on. So Chris, still concerned with hail with this storm, but I do know that if you're just tuning in here, we do have storm chasers that are on this particular cell and are giving us a great look at what this looks like.
Yeah.
In real life, not just on radar.
In the booth, keep Tim Carley from Severe Studios on standby too. He's right up under this one. Big rotating mezzo with a wall cloud dropped out. There's no funnels at this point. If we start to see a funnel or a tornado, we'll go ahead and take these feeds. There's a lot of good ones, but unfortunately, the nature of the beast is we have to ultimately pay for these, so we want to take them when they're appropriate. We do have a distinct lowering though on this storm. This is the only storm worth talking about at this point. And as you're looking at the velocity signal, the rotation right now is pretty much spot on over Eldora. So heads up there. We have a larger community where this lowering the wall cloud certainly is in place. And we want you to be safe. So if you see anything drop down, we want you to take cover immediately. If you have any pictures, reports, or videos, we'd appreciate you sharing those with us. Just text us at 515-457-1026. That's the easiest way to get any reports to us overall as we go through the day. It makes it easier for us to actually take those onto air with you as well. So there's some decent rotation, but it's fairly broad. So we're watching that bright red, and then there's the brighter green there closer to Eldora. And as it sits, that is going to be at a distance that we're looking at here over about 4 miles. So we'd want this to really tighten up just a little bit, tighten it up a little bit more. And that would be concerning for a possible tornado. And that's what we're going to continue to watch as we go on. Hail has been a big story. It's not quite as large with the latest signal as it once was. We're seeing some signals popping up of up to tennis ball sized hail at one point on our radar algorithms. We don't really have much else to speak of at the moment as far as storms. Looks like Joe might be looking at a little something by Perry. Is that what's going on there, Joe?
Yeah, Chris, and so, it's starting to see this pop up near Perry over the last couple of scans. This is moving pretty much straight to the north and a little bit northeast, north of Highway 141. Now, of course, this is very small at this moment in time, but looking at the visible satellite, you can see that an updraft is trying to kind of kick this storm up a little bit. So this may end up being one to watch as it continues to progress. But we've also seen a couple of storms try to get going a little bit this far to the west, and they've kind of fizzled out a little bit and haven't really caught a really good
Joe,
updraft.
I'm going to interrupt, and in the back, let's take Severe Studios, Tim Carley, if you can get that routed into the web PC. Looks like we have something down on the ground. So give me 1 second
warning.
here.
Tornado warning issued.
Yep. And get us on air, please, in the booth. Okay, if you can get some help in there too, that'd be great. Yep. Okay, so folks, we're prepping to go on air. We do see a tornado confirmed on the ground from one of our chasers that is out. This is near Eldora. I need anyone in Eldora to seek shelter. You'll likely see this tornado warning pop purple, and that is an indication that it's on the ground. Yep. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Kubal, along with meteorologist Joe Farrell. We're having team coverage on severe weather. We're going to be with you for the long haul in this one. Tornado warning currently in progress. Looks like there may have been something that briefly touched the ground as we watch some of our storm chaser feeds here. Off screen. We're working to pull a couple of those up, but this tornado warning is in effect until 3:45, and this one is pushing to the north and east at about 25 miles per hour. So this puts communities at risk in Vester and Wellsburg as we move through the next 25 minutes or so. Eventually Grundy Center as well will be impacted by this, closer to 4:01. Joe, you have the velocity pulled up right now. Let's walk folks through here what we're seeing currently.
Yeah, absolutely. So the greatest area of rotation here. It's pretty easy to tell, but it is. Let me get this guy here. So pretty easy to tell where this is at, kind of right here, just a little bit to the east of Eldora, and this is going to continue to move off to the east and the northeast. Now, taking a quick check of kind of, I've got Google Maps up here, and there's a lot of farmland within this area just to the east of Eldora. A lot of farms here, so if you've got anyone that you know that is on one of those farms, do let them know that this is an ongoing situation. And Chris, is that tornado still on the ground as far as the latest that we know?
You know, we saw some circulation associated with it, and I'm going to hold off on taking it right now because they're actually driving at the moment and we can't see it. What I ended up seeing associated with this is a circulation on the ground, but there was no visible funnel. Now, that's not to say there wasn't something there, but also it could have been kind of a gustnado, that wind coming down and then kind of circulating as it hit the ground. It was brief, only there for about a minute or so. We do have our storm chasers live in the field. We're going to continue to track those for you. In fact, meteorologist Logan Schlottman is also out in the field as well. We'll bring him in as necessary. So right now, the threat as we are seeing it would be basically just to the east of Eldora. That's where we're seeing the tightest circulation. Basically right here, basically right along Highway 175 at this point. So we're continuing to track everything here, watching our chaser feeds, and we do have a distinct lowering that has been noted with this for probably the last 30 minutes or so. That's been persistent, but just in the last few minutes, we did see ground circulation kind of take over, but there was no visible funnel that was taking place. So a little iffy there. Could it have been a tornado? Certainly. We've seen that storm level circulation. Either way, this is the most potent cell right now we have across the state of Iowa as we look at some of those winds right now rotating over a very short distance. We have 39 miles per hour there into the green, and then that's contrasted by 35 headed the other way. So we're talking a circulation up about 75 miles per hour, maybe over a mile or a mile and a half. So that's certainly a tight circulation and is worth watching this one as we get closer. Joe.
Yeah, just wanted to point out a couple of things here as this storm continues to move in the direction that it is moving. So this area of rotation here, right through here, this is going to be moving kind of right in between a couple locations that I want to let you know about if you do know of them within all of this farmland. You've got the Avester Church of Brethren that is just a little bit south of Highway 175 here. And that is one kind of landmark that I'm looking at, as well as eventually, as this continues moving to the east and a little bit to the northeast, may eventually have to kind of watch out for Grundy Center here eventually. The storm is moving still very, very slow, and with given the direction that it's moving, might end up just a little bit to the north and the east of a little bit north of Grundy Center eventually here. But let's put a track on this as it continues to move very, very slow pace. So this is one that this is the only storm that we've kind of got going on here that is of major concern, and only one that is tornado warned. In fact, I want to bring up the track here. No cities even pop up, and so this is a situation where a lot of farmland, but there are still people that live on those farms, and if you know one of them, do let them know if you can. Shoot them a text, give them a call, something of the sort. Let them know that they need to get into their tornado safe space, because this storm is still showcasing very strong signs of rotation.
Go ahead and continue, Joe.
Yeah, so given the latest radar scan with velocity here, we're seeing this still. It's kind of riding right along Highway
175.
175, yes, right along here. It's kind of where the rotation's kind of riding, maybe just slightly, ever so slightly, to the north of the highway. So we're going to continue watching this moving to the east, and just in case here, want to circle the area where this rotation is tightest.
It certainly is tight right there as well, Joe. And the red kind of denoting the inbound wind feeding into that system, and that's what we're looking for if we're concerned with a tornado at the moment. So this one's pushing east of Eldora, and you saw that latest velocity scan coming in from Joe. It is looking rather robust as this hits the Grundy County line and continues to push its way to the east and north and east at this point. So we need to continue to ask folks to seek shelter. Lowest level, most interior room of your dwelling, and put as many walls between you and the outside. Avoid windows, of course, if you're anywhere in eastern Hardin and western Grundy County for this tornado warn. Now, we did have a circulation right before we jumped on air with the broadcast, and in our stream prior noted there was no visible funnel with this, so it could have been a gustnado. We'll call it either a possible tornado or a gustnado with this, but there's no confirmation, so to speak, that there has been a significant impact from that as far as damage. We haven't heard any word of that, but we're always going to be looking for it. As always, you can always, and please do so safely, if you have a report to pass along with us, picture, video, we'd love to see it and share it and help give people awareness out ahead of this storm. Text us at 515-457-1026, 515-457-1026. That's the easiest way to get those reports with us. Looks like the heart of this one is pushing off into Grundy County. We'll continue to stay with this one as it does move its way eastward for at least a little while longer. Grundy County is not officially into the Local 5 coverage area, but we will continue to track this one for you as it makes its way out of Hardin County. Here's that latest velocity scan coming in, and there's some stronger winds that are peaking here. Again, to the tune, if you add these, absolutely, that 35 and 39 together, that gets you up there. And so that's getting us up there to about 75 miles per hour over a very short distance. So that's the concern. When it starts getting tighter in nature, that's about 1.5 miles in distance where it's rotating around above your head. That's going to be the concern when we start thinking about maybe a tornado dropping on down to the ground. Joe, any updates?
Yeah, so this storm did actually end up producing a report, came into one of the staff members at the National Weather Service. It was actually one of their sisters that was located in Eldora, ping pong ball-sized hail in Eldora as they were seeking shelter about 10 to 15 minutes ago, now 20 minutes ago. So this storm did produce very large hail and still likely has some hail associated with it, but of course the tornado warning, that rotation, still something that we are very concerned with here, as that rotation is still pretty tight. Now, one thing I do want to look at, I'll circle this area of rotation here. This is going to move and pass, still kind of riding just to the north of Highway 175. Going to continue as we move east and just a little bit northeast, so north of Avester, looking at this, continuing to kind of track this direction. A lot of farmland in here, but still people that live on those farms, and so keeping a very close eye on that. Something else that I want to take a look at here is to see if there's any debris that is being detected by radar here, and I am not seeing a super clear signature in terms of debris. Probably some hail kind of maybe contaminating this image just a little bit. That's certainly possible.
It's also a long ways away from the radar.
Yeah.
Sorry to step on you, Joe, but it is a long ways from the radar as well.
For sure.
I'm going to take over here for a second just to show you the reports. We do now have a report officially of a tornado that was on the ground. This was at 3:20, and that would have been that little bit of a circulation, the dust kick-up that I mentioned. So this was visible on Storm Chaser feed. Also some hail, again, coming in. What was that, golf ball-sized hail out of Eldora, just shy of that. Ping pong ball-sized hail. This storm is really hooking around on itself right now. So maybe that downdraft trying to catch back up with the updraft just a little bit. Looks like that circulation might have broadened out just a little bit, as this one is now just north of Avester, south of Wellsburg, kind of between Highway 175 and US Highway 20, as this pushes to the east and north and east with time. At about 20 miles per hour is the way things are looking at this point. So again, a brief touchdown. It appears that circulation, as I saw it, was only on the ground there near Eldora for about a minute or so, with actually no visible funnel that I can recall taking a look at. But we do now have confirmation that there was a tornado on the ground. It was on the ground briefly. and now it's confirmed by the National Weather Service. Joe?
Yeah, and this separate radar software that we also have up and take a look at during these events is still showing right in this pink area here, still showing up, and this is just radar indicated right now, upwards of 2-inch hail. So still hail coming down, more, very likely with this cell. But man, you really do notice that very pronounced hook with this storm. So there's just that continued sign of that rotation. Let's go ahead and get velocity back up here. Take a look at the latest scan. Okay, so as Chris mentioned just a minute ago, if you're just tuning in here, there is still some of that rotation there, but it definitely has broadened out. A couple radar scans ago, we saw that rotation be very tight with this storm, and that was when it did briefly produce a tornado that was just a little bit to the east of Eldora. So this storm continues moving to the northeast, keeping the velocity up here. Let's get another track on this.
Yeah, the rotation has certainly broadened out a little bit, Joe. That's good. When it was tight earlier, that's when we had that brief touchdown. So a good trend here if we want to avoid tornadoes. Still watching some of our streams out there, and
sure.
There's still a lowering to watch. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say Holland, within the next kind of 30 minutes or so here, that's when we could see not just the area of rotation, but also some of that hail coming down. That's a rough timeline of when this storm will be moving overhead of your area. So if you are in Holland, north of Grundy Center, this storm is coming your direction and still showcasing very strong signs. Even if the rotation isn't as tight, doesn't mean that this can't tighten back up as far as the rotation goes, and it's still likely producing some hail too.
Okay, Joe, we're continuing with our tornado warning until 3:45. At this juncture, we'll carry on through the duration of this warning here on Local 5 as this one, the threat is going to be riding just north of Highway 175, and while not officially in most of Grundy Center, right off your northern edge, there is that area of concern. So we are still going to continue to be watching this one for you. I will say if there is anything dropping to the ground, it's now rain wrapped as we are still watching some of our chasers that are out in the field looking right into a pretty sharp rain shaft associated with this. Joe, you've done it. I'll go ahead and take a brief look here too at CC. I'm actually going to back it up to when we had that tornado report, and I don't see anything glaring here. Perhaps, something still kind of lingering as it approaches the Grundy County line, but I would be pretty hesitant to say that would be something confirmed. There's certainly some hail. There has been some signal of large hail previously with this one. In southwestern Hardin County, we were getting our radar algorithms to hint at amounts or sizing, I should say, up to tennis ball sized hail. We did have ping pong ball sized hail come in out of Eldora, but again, the strongest signal for the hail was previously further south and west of town. No significant wind gusts at the moment with this one. I'm going to back up through time as the storm was getting going, and it really passed just north of any of those active weather stations at this point. So we'll watch Grundy Center, may catch the rear flank circulating down and around. If there is going to be a tornado, it's going to be right here in this weak echo region, kind of in the hook. This is going to be where that hook is as a kind of rocket back and forth across. There is also a hail signature in there on the northern side. And the way it's looked at this point, we just got a report of golf ball sized hail 1 mile south of Wellsburg. So that matches what we're saying here. Hail size 1.8 to 1.75 is the report coming in out of Wellsburg. And I'll say the algorithm right now that I'm looking to just off screen is actually a little bit higher. So perhaps this one is pulsing upwards just a bit as well. So now officially 2 reports of a tornado from this, but now delayed. There's no new update associated with this, but now officially 2 tornado reports coming in with this storm as it was moving just near the Eldora area and off due to the east. That latest hail report coming in south of Wellsburg noted here, as you see, up to golf ball sized, 1 mile to the south of Wellsburg. That was at 3:26. Did get a new scan of data coming in for Grundy County, and new severe thunderstorm warning is actually being extended. I'm going to check out the velocity signal here briefly before going back, and we'll track that storm for you. Joe, in fact, if you want to get a track set up on that storm, and when you get it set, I'll take it over to you. That area of rotation that we'd be watching is about right in here, perhaps another little area just north and west of Grundy Center as well. It's really broadened out, it's washed out, and as it translates to the overall positioning of the storm, it was kind of wrapped around on itself. So we'll watch to see if any of these areas can maybe recycle on this. But near Grundy Center, I'd say Grundy Center, please seek shelter at this point. Joe?
Yeah, and this is starting to, as far as where the hail is going to be coming down in rotation 2, crossing over Highway 14 here, kind of really as we speak, because these radar images are just ever so slightly delayed. So we're looking at the hail coming down in Holland more than likely right now, and we're going to continue to watch this storm move off to the east and the northeast. I want to zoom out at least just a little bit here. So you can see that once it crosses over 14, going to continue seeing it on this track, getting towards Dyke by the time we get into the next half hour or so. In fact, why don't I just go ahead and put a track on this and get this up that direction. Take a look at just a little bit of a timeline. So again, if you're in Holland, tuning in right now, just go ahead and head to your safe spot. And in fact, new report just came in out of Holland, golf ball size hail falling at this time. So they just received that report into the National Weather Service. So if you're in Dyke, that's what you've got coming your way. And again, this will take a little bit of time for this storm to arrive. It is still moving slowly. It's been kind of fluctuating between 20 to 25 miles per hour for storm motion to the east and the northeast. So it's not moving very quickly, which is why there is still some time before it arrives in some of these towns kind of out ahead of this, where the hail is coming down. And gosh, that, we don't want tornadoes, of course, right? And seeing the rotation become very disorganized is a good sign. We don't mind seeing that. But this storm is still very strong and still producing hail, as we just heard, Holland, golf ball size hail.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. And as we continue to track the storms along with you, this one now solidly into Grundy County, though the official tornado warning does extend back to the west here into Hardin County. That is clear. You can come out of safe places there. I'd say if you're in Grundy County, go ahead and stay safe anywhere north of town on Highway 14. Holland up through Highway 20, that's going to be kind of the places you want to continue to seek shelter from this storm. So another report coming in near Holland, as Joe just mentioned, another golf ball sized hail report. So it looks like our radar algorithm is drilling the hail sizes today, as it has been largely since this storm did begin to form. There's a trio of storms now over northeastern Iowa, just catching the tail end of one up into Franklin County. We've been watching that, but nothing severe cutting through that corner of the county as that one moves out of the local 5 area. What we do also have is a couple of initially forming storms here, getting just to the east and north and east of the Des Moines Metro, kind of lined up over Jasper County and then up into eastern Story County near Colo. We'll continue to track these here behind the scene. It looks like this tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire at this point. Joe? Yeah, that looks to be the case as I see it right now, with a continued downward trend. So what we're going to do here is we're going to continue our stream on We Are Iowa Plus, we're also doing it on social media, YouTube as well. You can catch us in a multitude of locations. We'd love to see you join us for continued coverage there. The threat moving out of Hardin County, you can come out here to safe places, and this tornado warning is expiring in the next 60 seconds. Heads up, though, for hail over Grundy County. We'll continue to track things behind the scenes here in the Weather Center and cut into programming as necessary. All right, Joe, take it away here. Give us a little bit of a recap.
Yeah, so to recap for all of you, thanks for tuning into the stream here. We are continuing to and have been tracking this storm that's just in the north of Grundy Center right now and into Grundy County. But this began and was the first storm to really get going in our coverage area here. I'm going to take radar back a little bit so you can kind of see the progression of how things have
Hey,
gone.
in the booth, we have a mix minus issue. Thank you.
I was wondering if I was going crazy.
No,
Couldn't
you're
hear myself
not. Go
in my
ahead,
ear.
Joe.
So this is when this storm really started to kind of get going here. It was to the east of Eldora and just a little bit to or west of Eldora, a little bit to the east of I-35. And you can see as time went along, I mean, watch this storm progress and grow in size as we went between 2:30 and 3 o'clock, and then to 3:30. And in fact, as it started to approach Eldora, you can see the hook on the radar here. This storm started to have that lowering wall cloud and had that rotation going on. And in fact, a couple tornado reports, a couple of separate ones, but probably just the same one being reported by two different people or two different chasers. That happened very close to Eldora, but this storm continued to track to the east, and as it did and into Grundy County, the rotation became very disorganized, which is a good sign. We don't mind seeing that rotation become disorganized, but something that has still been the case with this storm to this point, and what has been consistent throughout its lifespan up to this point was hail production. Couple different and several different reports now of hail getting up to $50, little bit larger than that, ping pong ball sized hail, things of that nature. So this has been a beast of a storm that is still passing through Grundy County at this time.
All right.
And we're still watching a couple of others here. Really anything that has tried to develop a little bit to the west of the kind of the very immediate Des Moines metro, it's tried to get going, hasn't been able to do so. It's been everything that has been a little bit farther to the east with that first storm, and now it just kind of gives us an idea that these couple that are trying to get going here in central Iowa, east of I-35, are just a couple that we may need to keep our eyes on for some strengthening. In fact, you can see that just, we're at 348. This was at 330. Nothing showing up on radar here. So still need to watch those for at least the time being. But these current cells that are really trying to get going are not our concern at this point in time, but may be worth watching as we kind of move forward. You notice the moving to the northeast, up towards, and that storm's going to be getting into the Waterloo area here within the next half hour or so. And this is the strongest area of thunderstorm activity currently in the state, and likely will continue to be the case at least for a little while longer here, because these storms have only been moving. The ones that have gotten really strong, like the one that did produce a tornado as well as some hail near Eldora, they were only moving at around 20-25 miles per hour. Very slow moving storms, but starting to see, I actually kind of want to look at the I'm going to bring up the visible satellite.
Actually,
here.
Joe, I got it right here, so I'll just take over.
Perfect.
I have the visible satellite up at the moment, so we're looking for these towers to really take off. And as I back up through time, I want you to note this one. This was back closer to Perry by the time it really kind of blossomed up. It just couldn't sustain itself. So it actually fell apart, but we're starting to watch a couple of more of these towers maybe try to get going in here. And we're starting to see some radar returns associated with it in both of those areas. Now, far from being called a big bad thunderstorm or anything like that. In fact, anything that's developed further south and west of that cluster of storms in northeastern Iowa has really struggled to gain substance back to the west. But not to say it can't happen or always going to be tracking it for you, but that's what we're looking at with those clouds kind of billowing up. We do appreciate you joining. If you have been up in Grundy or Hardin County, we'd love to hear from you now that that cell is pushing out of our area. Just text us your reports and let us know what you're seeing or have seen, I guess, out in these areas. We'll continue to track that for you as we continue on. But so far, that realm has been pretty quiet, at least, as I'm checking in here at the feed coming in from our text line. So we have had reports of up to golf ball sized hail. We had radar algorithm saying up to tennis ball sized hail, which is huge. That's 2.3 quarters inches of ice.
Yeah, gosh, that's big
That's a
time
huge
hail.
chunk.
That's big.
So that's what we're watching. We do, again, still have kind of the best energy lining up in the eastern half of the state. What we do have down in southwestern Iowa, I'm going to check this out because I'm not sure, but I am going to definitely check it out. I'll see if I have the dew points on here. In fact, I do. So I'm going to pull up the dew points. And we do. We have that drying that's hitting here. So once this drier pocket of air hits, that essentially cuts off the severe risk for those who get into that. What's happening is a bit of a dry line is nosing its way up into Iowa. We don't talk about those all too often. Think of it as if it's a cold front without the cold air. Okay, the forcing mechanism along with it, it's there. It is like a wedge driving through the landscape. It can spark thunderstorms along it. So I believe that's what we're seeing these small little bitty cells form on, is maybe the leading edge or running out just ahead of it of that dry line. It's crazy to think of, but yeah, we don't get them all too often up here, but if we do, it's early in the season typically is when we do, when we're not in the huge muggy season, if you will, which is typically into summer. It makes it a little bit easier for them to be attainable in here. Another little cell, it looks like, just in the northwest of Story City. That is exactly in the area that this initial storm developed in over parts of Grundy
That was
County.
my first thought, Chris,
Yep.
when I saw this pop up.
So a couple of little cells here and there. Looks like a little bit towards Newton. Joe, go ahead here. I'm going to work and see if we can get a traffic cam up.
Yeah, sounds good. So really, really keeping an eye on just a few of these, smaller cells, at least at this point in time. Really have noticed that kind of bubbling up some of that convection, the updrafts, trying to kind of really propel these storms and have them kind of grow in size. Just haven't, outside of the one storm, haven't seen anything really be able to sustain itself up to this point in time. But as Chris just mentioned, this little cell popping up just northwest of Story City, and almost to an exact spot of where that first storm that ended up moving through Eldora and all the way up into Grundy County. It's now moving in towards the Waterloo area at this time. Pretty much the exact location of where that storm developed and moved through. So here's, I actually do want to bring up also with, Chris mentioning the dry line, the kind of what makes this different from cold front. With a cold front, you notice colder temperatures, kind of behind it. But I mean, take a look at where the drier air is really starting to slot in. It's not the same thing as a cold front. Temperature's still well into the 80s. So just a little something interesting. These dry lines, you hear about them a lot more often down in places like Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, even into Nebraska at times, especially as Chris mentioned, kind of early in our season here. But getting back to radar, the latest radar scan coming in has shown a little bit of an increase in intensity. Don't want to say that this storm is starting to really explode by any stretch of the imagination, but just the last scan that came in, just a little bit stronger returns coming in with this one that is starting to push just a little bit north of Newton at this time and is north of Interstate 80. So this, given the last couple of radar scans, a little bit of that stronger returns kind of showing up, this may be one that we need to kind of keep a close eye on. If it can sustain itself and just kind of keep on growing, then certainly the threat for hail and potentially even for that storm to maybe start to show signs of rotation. This is just down the line speaking here, forecast-wise. May need to watch that one closely for any development. But you can actually see how when we had that singular storm that was in the kind of northeastern parts of the area here, it was all by itself. Nothing else really going on. There was one cell that tried to kind of get going just north of Perry, fizzled out, couldn't sustain itself. But getting into, a little bit closer to present time here, there's a couple that that are worth keeping an eye on. I'd say that the one that's just to the northwest of Story City, worth tracking here as we move forward. And also this one right here is just a little bit to the east of Highway 65. That's another one that we may need to kind of keep our eyes on. And then again, another radar scan, another little bit of data coming in. This one to the north of Newton. This one continues to show a little bit stronger returns on radar as we just move through scan to scan. So definitely worth keeping an eye on this one. Now these storms currently are not moving very fast, but their storm motion overall has been generally to the north and northeast. And that looks to be the case with this particular storm as it currently stands.
Just a little bit elongated there, Joe. I'm going to take over and watch. As we do have the storm tracker up in the corner feed too. That's meteorologist Logan Schlottman out there. Looks like he's heading up Highway 330, it looks like, at this point, maybe trying to catch a couple of these bubbling cells. That one near Newton you were just talking about, it's not a ripping storm by any means. It's not even fanning out into an anvil at this point. In fact, nothing is rising to the occasion of being worthy of being warned. And while we have been kind of showing you the radar picture, there's a lot of false returns in here, right? All that green that's fluttering through. That is all bad data. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over to CC, and anywhere you see kind of those red dots, right? This is where that's actually rain associated with. So we'll watch any one of these to see if they can take off. I think our best chances of doing so would be out of this northern cluster. There is a little bit further south towards the Missouri border in the warm sector, but the best wind structure is going to be closer to that stationary boundary, which is currently lined up over northeastern Iowa, stretching to the south and west. In fact, you can see this cold front right here, or I'll call it a stationary front, lined up in the returns. That's where we have that wind shift occurring, and then we've touched on it a little bit as well, and I'm just going to use a pink line for it, but I believe we have kind of a dry line extending down to the south here as well. Joe?
Yeah, it's still elongated, as you mentioned, Chris, but just the kind of separate radar software that kind of keep our eyes on and the algorithm that it uses it's starting to show signs of just very, very, very small hail beginning to kind of show up with this one. So just a slight strengthening with this storm over the past 15, 20 minutes. Certainly worth keeping our eyes on here. Just since we are on stream, there's very large hail coming down with the storm that we were tracking, through Eldora and into Grundy County. This continues to move through Dike right now, moving towards Waterloo, and still is producing some large hail that radar software is showing upwards of potentially, just radar indicated, upwards of 3-inch hail according to that software and the algorithm that it uses. So still showing signs of being very strong. So if you know anyone in Dike or Waterloo, or getting a little bit northeast of Waterloo, just something for any friends and family that you may have there to kind of keep a close track of. But for central Iowa specifically, given where this storm north of Story City, it's already kind of the last couple of radar scans kind of fizzling out a little bit. That does not surprise me. In fact, latest radar scan that just came through here showed it even weakening even farther. But these couple are kind of the only ones over the past 20, 30 minutes to show any sort of signs of being able to stay sustained. And in fact, this one's kind of low on the screen. I'll bring it up a little bit for you. So still, these two storms, the only ones for the immediate central Iowa locations that we've seen these storms continue to show small and slight strengthening over the past couple of radar scans. So we may see these continue to grow, but it's not something that is, explosive type of growth, and just ones that were super concerned as far as any sort of severe activity. Nothing like that going on just yet. They're just worth keeping our eyes on as we move forward here over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, and that could change too. I mean, these are kind of in the infancy of growing, and growing a little bit more quickly there over Jasper and Marshall County. So we'll have to see how those will be. That one in Jasper would be better positioned. I think Marshall County, it might have some outflow to work with too, so that makes it interesting. You got a little bit south of I-80, but that's not going to be near as impressive. We have the best mechanisms to lift these storms up here in northeastern Iowa. So Jasper, Marshall County, heads up for that. We're tracking these two cells right now. Just some big time hail out of this storm that's now getting close to Waterloo. Secondary storm that's now over Butler County, fresh out of Franklin County. Didn't hear any reports from Franklin County if there was any hail there, but that storm certainly grew up over eastern Franklin County and pushed out of the vicinity. As it sits right now with these additional cells that are developing, say, Marshall and Jasper County, not seeing any signal of rotation with them. We're going to be watching that, and we are starting to see some small, and emphasis on the small, hail being possible with these couple of cells. These early season scenarios do make it a little bit easier to see hail form. Man, there's some impressive structure. We're not going to take it, but Joe, impressive structure on that cell approaching Waterloo right now.
Who's which storm chaser is on it currently?
Oh, there's a lot of them. So
I'm sure.
You pick any Severe Studios feed, and you'll probably see it. Tim Carley, Grant Lady. I'm not quite sure. I apologize, Grant. Yeah, it's looking impressive there. We're not going to take it because that's well outside of our coverage area. But yeah, these are definitely the most robust storms. And I think as it pertains, excuse me, this is going to be kind of the area to watch. Woo! I grabbed my trackers, and that's psychedelic. That is going to be the area to watch when it comes down to it for storms being the most robust. That enhanced risk, that level 3, has been extended further to the west. It's conditional on seeing the storms go. The environment is ripe. We don't have really a big shortwave cutting through central Iowa right now, so that's one of the limiting factors that's keeping this from being more widespread. And we're talking about isolated to scattered storms associated with tonight's activity. Looks like we got a new scan in here. Nothing too impressive with either of these cells. Just kind of holding their own. They're really elongated, and they're not taking a supercellular shape at all. So this leads me to believe that they're kind of struggling in their development at this point. Let's go to the visible satellites. Actually, Joe, you got it up. I'll let you talk about it.
So I really want to, I'm gonna slow down the loop here and make it a little bit shorter, because we just want to see kind of the last hour or so here. So kind of keeping an eye on where that storm was. You notice a little bit of that kind of convection, a little bit of that bubbling action, and trying to kind of grow as time has gone along here, but just hasn't been able to, sustain, and certainly is not progressing like that very first storm that is now impacting, Waterloo, and another one a little bit farther to the north and west of that storm. You can even see over the last hour. Look at the difference in this massive supercell up here to our northeast, and everything is it's trying. Just hasn't been able to do so. We've seen that with multiple different smaller cells that have really tried to get going. It's really just been focused with those couple of storms that we have seen to this point. Going back to radar, starting to show a couple of very, very minor returns here, even south of the one that keeping an eye on just north of Newton. But even the ones a little bit farther to the north into parts of, oh man, words right now, losing.
What are you looking for?
Marshall County.
Marshall County.
There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Even just the last couple of scans with this one, you see it really kind of just start to try and get going. It's trying. And the latest radar scan, it kind of fizzles just a little bit.
It is a little bit of a kidney bean, though, so that is something to kind of take note of as we watch this one.
Yeah, and the one northeast of Newton, now north of Kellogg, on kind of right along Iowa Highway 224, stretching over to Iowa Highway 146. That one's still pretty elongated.
Yeah,
it has like pretty much the same look as it did, 15, 20 minutes ago.
Well, I got the term gorilla hail thrown at me via text message up near Parkersburg, I believe. So, that storm is still kind of doing its thing. 1 second here, I'll bring myself over. I'm kind of monitoring the dew point situation across central Iowa. Kind of saving a preset too, so I can pull this up again on the fly. Looking at this dryness back through western Iowa, that's that dry line that's approaching. So one thing to watch is kind of at the triple point of that feature as we go deeper into the evening would be something to watch with it. It's tough to really pinpoint on radar, but I'd put it about right here. I'd say this is the stationary front that we have, and then you can't really see it on radar, but that dry line as it appears based on dew points drops straight south about on Highway 169. And these storms are behaving in central Iowa right now, but this one near Waterloo, severe thunderstorm warning until 4:45. There is a considerable threat for hail associated with it, excuse me, and then up into Butler County. Severe thunderstorm warning until 4:30 with this storm.
Man, those are a couple of monsters up there.
Yeah, they certainly are, Joe. And I'm just kind of poking around and communicating with folks in the newsroom and checking the National Weather Service chat.
And just out
We're
of
behaving
curiosity,
right now in central Iowa.
just out of curiosity, Chris, what did the dew point drop look like?
I do not have the numbers plotted, but I can easily, pull those up.
I was more curious than anything.
Let me come back over here to me. So we have a dew point of 46 in Atlantic, 57 in Creston, 56 in Des Moines, believe it or not. So dry air is working in. That really helps things in Des Moines to keep the stronger storms away. We're not a huge ripe environment today, but you can feel that mugginess. You certainly can, right? Temperatures in the 80s, dew points in the 60s. That's something you're going to feel. It's not the huge, rich 70s dew points with the 80s that we sometimes see in the summer, though. But this dry line, I'll go ahead and draw it. Give me 1 second. It's not often I get to draw a dry line in here in central Iowa, but I'd put it about right here. Ooh, look at those. Look at those barbs. They're huge. That's where I'd put it, though, that dry line, and kind of the area of low pressure is riding up with it, so that would probably be about near the Perry area. It's a feature we don't often get to. It works its way through the region just kind of like a cold front, only without the cold air. But behind that feature, with things being so dry, it typically means your thunderstorm chance is over. Now, we'll watch actually near that front, there's still a little bit more moisture pooled. Carroll and Fort Dodge, so as that feature kind of works its way southwards, it could still pulse back up a little bit. So kind of a multifaceted dynamic evening we have here for tonight. Most interesting cells are into northeastern Iowa. It looks like in southern Wisconsin starting to get some activity going too. But our storms, and we've been watching northern Marshall County and Jasper County, those are behaving at this point. Joe, I'll let you take over while I talk to Logan in the field.
Yeah, no, those storms are definitely, behaving. And, something that we were kind of watching today, and it's what we've had lately is a lot of, in central Iowa specifically, we've had a lot of those kind of close calls where we're right on the fringe and right on the edge of having a crazy environment that produces tons of storms. I mean, we saw what happened yesterday in North Iowa, southern Minnesota. Today was another one of those scenarios where it was going to be a situation where if 1, 2, 3 of those storms and cells could really get going, like the ones that are in northeastern Iowa are moving in those areas right now through Waterloo, and then we've got this storm that's going to eventually start moving towards the Charles City area. I mean, these are two monsters, and these have been two monster cells, over the last hour to hour and a half. And this was kind of the situation that we were kind of watching for today, is the fact that it may end up only being a couple of cells that really get going. But still, all of this going on and trying to kick up in central Iowa, still, even though it's not the greatest environment, especially with some of that drier air starting to kind of punch in, it's still worth keeping an eye on just in case. But the overall, major severe threat, talking the super large hail, the threat for tornadoes, it looks as though it's trending for central Iowa specifically, trending in the direction of not seeing a ton of that activity going forward into this evening. Now, there is a chance that we see some, especially as, typically what happens is you can get it's called a low-level jet that can really kick in. We're going to kind of see that really kick up in south central, starting in southwestern, south central into southeastern Iowa. That is going to happen during the overnight tonight, and we could see some more developing storms that move through in southern Iowa, southeastern Iowa, and places like that, and not so much concerned with a tornado threat if those storms move through that area a little bit later on tonight. And we're talking like late tonight. This is like past 11 o'clock, past midnight, kind of that timeline. Some of those storms could produce some very strong wind gusts and also some hail associated with them. So just something to keep in mind, even though, if you're in southern Iowa, southeastern Iowa, just to be safe, central Iowa too, around the Des Moines metro, just on the off chance that we see some of that development late tonight, doesn't catch you totally off guard seeing storms move through that, could potentially still be strong to even severe. That's the overnight threat that we're kind of keeping an eye on. But still,
all right, Joe, I'm going to jump in here because I've switched over. I want to show you Futurecast hour by hour. So this current cluster pegged very well in northeastern Iowa, but their signal, it tries to draw up just a little bit more, kind of like what we're seeing, that fluttering on radar over Jasper County, and then those additional cells push off to the north and east. As Joe has been talking about, that additional kick of a low-level jet does try to work its way in here. And I'm actually going to back things out, and you'll see those temperatures get really small. But that next surge of moisture comes in from the south and west, as he mentioned, and quite literally you can see that those wind barbs rising up from the south there. That's that low-level wind overnight kind of kicking upwards, and it all concentrates on one area against the front, and it just poof, pushes up. In fact, that leading edge of the low-level jets where we watch for those storms kicking up, because the faster wind behind it catches up with the slower wind, has nowhere to go. It can't go down, so it goes up, and so that creates an upward motion. And we'll carry this rain overnight, especially over southern area. Looks like now in the latest data, maybe a couple of waves, and this will greet us out the door in the morning. Since I have you here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull back in here, and we'll watch the evolution of tomorrow because we are watching additional thunderstorms too. I'd say especially over the central and eastern portion of the state tomorrow evening, watch for those storms to get going as I kind of rock this back and forth. Primarily a wind and hail threat for tomorrow as we're taking a look at the setup. Not quite as robust in that tornado department, or even I'd say in the wind and hail department as today and yesterday just off to our north. But then we dive right back into it on Friday after a day off Thursday. So I think we are going to be pretty active here through the end of this week. A couple of cells getting going along and east of Highway 14. Jasper County looks to be the most interesting, I would say, at the moment. Pretty elongated cells, no signs of circulation or really even stronger wind. And let's check out the hail here associated with it. And just some small little pockets perhaps there from that northern cell in Jasper County, perhaps trying to do it a little something, but that looks to be about it. Joe?
Yeah, probably, we're looking at maybe just, kind of peas coming down and, maybe penny-sized. Latest radar scan that's come in actually did kick up the strength ever so slightly here. So just south of Gilman, and this is this little core right here where we would see some of those peas and maybe upwards of pennies kind of coming down as far as hail. It's a very small pocket. It's kind of moving almost straight north, but a little bit of a northeasterly kind of shift. So moving right towards Gilman, and may start to kind of, you see Highway 146 starting to go straight north out of Gilman. May see this storm kind of ride that very similar line. But just because this is, I want to take a look at radar a little bit more in full. There's a lot of things trying to bubble up and trying to kick up here, but it's really just this one that has been showing at least signs of trying to sustain a little bit. In fact, this other radar software is showing around half-inch hail possibly being produced by this storm. So I'm gonna take a zoom in, and I'm gonna put actually a little bit of a track on this where the hail most likely is coming down. Something else I want you to know if you're tuning in here from Gilman up towards Pickering, this storm and these storms in general have been very, very slow moving, not moving very fast at all, between 20, 25 miles per hour, and that is pretty much it. So even in the latest radar scan, you saw a little bit of a shift in where that little bit of a core is with this storm, shifting to the east ever so slightly. So may end up passing just a little bit to the east of Pickering, but Gilman certainly shortly here, if not, yeah, very, very shortly. We're talking within, 5, 6, 7 minutes. You don't be surprised if you start seeing some of that small hail, and we're talking small. This is non-severe activity, but it's just the only storm that's really shown any sign of being able to produce anything in that regard. So not just a heavy downpour of rain, but also a little bit of hail. This is going to be moving into Gilman here very, very soon. Just don't be shocked if you have some of that kind of coming down. I want to take a look at some of this other potential convection in a couple of these storms that just are, the little storms that are trying. Just haven't been able to sustain themselves. Now, this little bit, I want to take radar back a little bit here. So, north of Madrid, this storm has at least shown the last couple of radar scans just a very, very minor sign of a little bit of growth. It's not much. And so just something to keep an eye on. Anytime we have one of these starting to, strengthen at least ever so slightly through a couple of radar scans, they're always worth keeping an eye on. But there isn't a singular one at this time that I am overly concerned with seeing, that kind of explosive growth, kind of like what we saw with the storm that is just pummeling Waterloo right now, with some of that larger hail coming down, and the structure with this storm that we've seen, as a couple of the storm tracers are still tracking this one. The structure on this one's been insane. You may see photos of that kind of coming out as time goes along here. So still a couple things for us to keep an eye on. Gilman, you're probably seeing that heavy downpour, and maybe even hearing some of those P's, and maybe a penny or two as far as hail size kind of coming down. And in fact, Chris, just something interesting, that the little bit of the core with this one is starting to kind of concentrate a little bit more towards the center of this more still elongated cell. Just interesting, the last couple of radar scans, seeing this become a little bit more centered and not quite as elongated, or at least showing the same returns in a straight, long west-east line.
Yeah, it's trying to tighten up just a little bit. Still some pretty massive rotation on that storm up near Waterloo, as we've been watching. Some big-time hail, too. Just watching some of the feeds off cam here. Nothing severe in central Iowa. There's also a little cell just to the south and west of Des Moines. This would be kind of in a position to watch continue to grow. That'd be near the triple point of where I deem the dry line to be. And I'm just going to draw that down with kind of a gold line. I believe that dry line's about there, maybe just a touch to the east. And then we have the stationary boundary. That's pretty much lined up on that conga line of storms down there, with the area of low pressure kind of smack dab in the middle of all that, where those two meet. So this is an area to watch. Treat this as kind of the triple point of when we're talking about a warm front and a cold front meeting with the area of low pressure. Watch that area, that storm, as we continue on to see if this one is going to grow stronger. A little bit bigger than golf ball size hail. So if we're going bigger than golf ball, we're talking about size of eggs in green, 2-inch diameter. So that's green in Butler County, way up north. Still tracking that. Do not have much else for any reports currently, but we have certainly seen some stronger style hail reports previously with those cells that are currently up to the north and east. So a smattering of storms, and as we do get closer to showtime, we are going to have to jump off our broadcast. But we'll continue to keep the radar up and looping for you so you can continue to watch it. And of course, we'll be back after our show at 5 and at 5:30 and keep you updated as well in between our broadcast here. So a couple of small cells over southern Iowa pushing to the north and east. The most robust kind of south and west of Toledo right now. Some small hail east of Gilman towards Sheridan. And then southwest of Ames, another one. It's grown in the last 4 scans to be a decent little cell. There are not really any significant winds associated with that, as you see in this feature, and also no hail signature associated with that. We have seen a little bit of one with this cell coming in near Gilman, and this would likely be just pea-sized hail. Radar algorithm saying something up to a ½ inch possibly. So there are a couple of little pockets in there. But at this point, we're running south of severe criteria, or under severe criteria, I should say. Some rain near Grinnell, down through Sully, Pella. We have a little bit of a cell south and east of Sheraton, and then Centerville to Seymour, another little smattering. So there's a little bit of activity out there. We'll continue to watch it. Again, I'll show you the dew points here as it's being noted. There is a decent little dry line setting up coming in out of southwestern Iowa. That's where you start to see those brown shadings coming in. It's even in Des Moines too. If you stepped out, there's a kind of a marked difference when it comes down to it. And I'll go ahead and just show you those specific numbers, what the dew points are doing. 56 in Des Moines, 57 in Creston, 45 in Council Bluffs. Still plenty of communities into the 60s. So you're feeling just a hint of that mugginess that is out there. But the big bad storm's over northeastern Iowa, and that's where the best setup is for us tonight. Joe?
Yeah, that's still keeping an eye on that storm. That's just to the east of Gilman now. Latest scan that's come in, and our radar software show a little bit of strengthening, and still ½ inch hail. But something we've noticed is just, this storm. You see these, you see the red in here. This, as it was just a little bit north of Newton. I mean, the red pretty much stretched in the lighter red, and the lighter returns stretched pretty much across the entire cell. Now, what we've seen is that it's tightening a little bit, so it's kind of coming in towards a little bit closer to the center of where this cell is, and so the energy is being a little bit more concentrated into one area instead of being so spread out, which is, likely why we're seeing just very small hail potential with this one at this time. But there's that radar scan that just came in that showed a little bit of that strengthening. So you see the kind of pink returns. If we're seeing any small hail, that's right within that circle there. This is right where we would be seeing that, and of course with the radar scan being just a little bit delayed, this is probably just a little bit to the north and east of where this shows currently. So a lot of farmland in this area, and this is kind of heading towards, if you're in Toledo and Tama, this is heading up your direction, and maybe, it's going to take a little bit for the storm to keep chugging along and keep going up that way, because the storm motion has not been anything very quick with these cells at all. So keeping a close eye on that one. Want to check back in with this one that is kind of stretched right along and is likely moving across Highway 30 up towards the Ames area right now and into Ames. Want to check back in with this one. Last couple radar scans showing a little bit of strengthening, but nothing to the point where I would start being concerned. In fact, just another little bit of data in the latest scan coming in here and in real time, maybe starting to see a little bit more concentration, just a little bit to the west and just a little bit southwest of Ames currently, and kind of maybe on that very, very west end of town. A little bit heavier rain coming down, not seeing anything that indicates to me that it would be even producing, very small hail potentially. In fact, radar software now starting to pick up a half inch, just like the cell that is trying to keep itself together heading towards Toledo. So,
Joe, I'm going to jump in real quick. Just one thing I've noticed is I just check out the velocity signal on this cell in southwest Tama County. It's actually anticyclonic right now with a little bit of rotation, which just we don't see a lot of. So I figured I'd note that a little bit. It is a clockwise rotation.
That's fascinating.
Storm level is pretty weak, but that is certainly a clockwise rotation. Looks like a little bit of one maybe there down between Brooklyn and Grinnell as well. I believe we have a cell there worthy of note. Not worthy of note, but a couple of little cells in there. So they're trying to spin, but they're spinning backwards, if you will. Typically we see a counterclockwise rotation associated with their cell, and I would hazard a guess as we check out this one, northern Marion and southern Jasper County. Let me pull that up, north of Pella, that it doesn't have anything, but I was going to hazard if there's a spin with it, it's anticyclonic, because we're kind of looking at the kidney bean going the other way with this one, but not really much substance with that. One thing we've been watching in kind of the last few years is a study showing that increase in lightning is an increase in intensity when you see that sharp uptick. And notice everything down here in southern Iowa, we just don't really have much of any lightning with it. Northern Missouri has a little cell there with a couple of bolts out of that cell north of Pella. One bolt near Ames as I zoom in just a little bit closer, and then southern Tama County is probably the best one, at least in the local 5 area at this point. But even then, that's not going to really get the job done overall with this one.
So the anticyclonic rotation is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get to see it a lot. About 1, maybe 2% of tornadoes form on an anticyclonic rotation. So we don't see it a lot, but certainly
Interesting.
we're seeing it.
Very interesting, for sure.
Okay, my friends, we have a show to get prepped for, so I'm going to get back to looping the radar. Of course, if something does go severe, we'll be right back on here and keep you updated with that. But for now, we'll let the automation take over as we prep for our broadcast on Local 5 at 5. Hope to see you join us. There I am. Hope to see you join us here as we go closer to news time there. Stay safe, everyone. Again, we'll be back if we see the need arise.
Yes. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Mic check. Yes, I can. That is weird. Oh my gosh. Oh, lovely. Okay. So who knows what will come up for my graphics? No, I know. That's why I'm saying who knows if my graphics that I put in will actually show up as they were. Gotta love cues. more consequences for tampering violations that happened over 2 years ago. Today, the NCAA announced that Iowa is being placed on probation for 1 year, will pay a $25,000 fine, and will vacate 4 wins from the 2023 season. The violation occurred in 2022 when head coach Kirk Ferentz and assistant coach John Budmeyer were in contact with quarterback Cade McNamara while he was still enrolled at Michigan and not yet in the transfer portal. Iowa suspended Ferentz and Budmeyer for the first game of the 2024 season. Iowa now has to vacate the 4 wins in which McNamara played during the 2023 season.